What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. Today I got a little something different for you guys. Now, for a while we have been covering Radiant Black. I decided to take all 11 issues that we currently have covered, let's throw them into one big video so you guys can enjoy it. So you can see the beginnings of Radiant Black, where it all started, the origins. Now, these videos are 2 to 3 years old, so the audio quality isn't top notch. I was still learning how to video edit, I was still learning how to edit the audio, so it kinda sounds like I'm congested almost in some of the videos. Hopefully it's not too unbearable for you guys, hopefully you guys enjoy it, but while I get out this video, I get out this big video for you guys to watch, I'm gonna be getting caught up. We're gonna be covering Radiant Black again. You guys have been asking for it. I've seen you in the comments, and I could not be more excited. It's time for us to jump into the massive verse. So, let's dive into this breakdown. This is the story of Nathan, and currently he is looking at his phone, recognizing that he has some crippling credit card debt. $38,486 to be precise. Currently working as a writer in Los Angeles. He is doing this side gig, kind of like Uber, kind of like, DoorDash, all that car service stuff. And he's doing this because his writing career, it just has not been successful. And while he sits in the car and he waits for his next customer, he is calling a bank trying to get a loan. Getting this loan will help him pay off all of his debt. The only issue is, he does not make enough money. His debt to income ratio is just off. And because of this, they are not giving him a loan. And Nathan, he just breaks down. He breaks down crying because his life is literally crumbling under him. But this crying is quickly interrupted by his next customer. Coming to get a ride, he wipes his tears away and he does his job. And that is what's going to take us to Lockport, Illinois 1 week later. And we have Nathan, who is returning home, no longer being able to feasibly live in Los Angeles. Not having the money, having a crippling debt, he has to move back home. And of course, his mother is ecstatic about this. She is extremely excited to have her son back home. Though for Nathan, this is something that is very embarrassing. Having to move back into your parents' house at the age of 30 is very demoralizing. And I can say that because I moved back in with my parents when I was 25. Luckily, I was able to get back on my feet and move out, get my own place. But still, just having to do that, it does suck. You feel like a failure. You feel like everything that you've been building up to has just crumbled under your feet. And it takes a while for people to build back up their empire. But after having a conversation with his parents, this is where we are introduced to his childhood best friend. That being Marshall. Now, Marshall is that typical friend that no matter what state you're in, he's gonna jive you, he's gonna get at you, he's gonna make fun of you a little bit. In a best friend kind of banter way. But Marshall lets him know that this place, it's still pretty cool. Lockport's got some areas that we can go drink, have a good time at a bar, recognizing that he needs to get away, that he needs just some kind of release. And so with them going out to the bar, the two of them, they sit down, they have some beers, and they discuss everything that has been going wrong in Nathan's life. And Marshall's actually completely stunned to hear of how much debt he has. And Nathan, he doesn't want to put this on his parents either, so he's not letting them know. Because while they may try to help him, they just don't have the means to do so. And to top it all off, the novel that he has been writing, from one of his best short stories. This novel is not complete. He hasn't even got to chapter 1. And though there may have been publishers that were wanting to publish his book, that was 4 years ago. And so the odds that anybody that would be willing to publish his book, they really have to have a complete version before they even have a discussion with him. And so, as the two of them, they drink through the night, getting completely wasted, they end up stumbling outside, walking through the snow, trying to call an Uber or something of that nature. This is when off in the distance, they see a black and blue glowing light, a small orb that appears to be hovering just above the ground. And the two of them going to investigate. As they get closer, it appears to be some kind of a little black hole. and even getting face to face with it. Nathan isn't sure what this thing is, believing it's almost impossible for it to be a black hole. Maybe it's an illusion of light or something of that nature. He goes to touch it, and with him touching this light, we see it activate. Lightning going off in all directions, the orb absorbing into him, connecting to his chest. It sends out energy blasts in all directions. And this is where we get to see Nathan in his suit for the first time. And as he begins to look down at his hands, saying that he doesn't feel any different, Marshall coming and knocking on his helmet to see if he feels it. And at this point, Nathan, he doesn't know what is going on. He doesn't know how to get this suit off of him. He immediately vomits. Lucky for him, a mouthpiece opens up so it can all get out of him. But the two of them are quickly interrupted by two local police officers, with them coming and seeing what is going on, because train tracks, they are private property, so you are not allowed to walk on them. And the police officers let them know that you guys need to get out of here. You know, obviously at least one of you have been drinking, the other one of you is in a costume. We don't know what you're up to. We don't even care what you're doing. Just get off the train tracks and get your butts home. And with Marshall being a little bit drunk, this is when he gets a little mouthy, talking off to the cops, telling them that they don't need to go anywhere. Not only that, there is a train headed directly for them. Marshall not paying attention. It looks like this train is about to squash them right there on the tracks. That is until Nathan jumps into action, and we see him levitate the police car, the police officers, and the train. Now Nathan at this point, he doesn't know how he did this. This was simply just a reaction. And the two police officers, they're telling them to put them down. Marshall saying, "We'll only put you down if you don't arrest us." The cops at this point, they don't even know what to do. They don't know how to handle the situation. They don't know how to deal with superhuman powers. So they're more than likely going to oblige. But what we see is Nathan grab Marshall and they jettison up into the sky. With the two of them flying off into the distance, we see that the policeman and the train are brought down to the ground. And picking up a little bit later, both Nathan and Marshall, they're sitting here having a conversation about what this all means. Because he can fly, he can levitate things, not even knowing the full extent of his power, not knowing what he could truly be capable of. Nathan knows that this is something big. His whole life has been nothing but failure, from his writing career to moving back in with his parents to his crippling debt. But before anything, he wants to try to figure out how to get his helmet off. We see him struggling trying to get this helmet off, unable to do so, almost winding himself trying so hard. But this is when Marshall tells him that you just reacted. He had thought about lifting the train, and when he thought about it, it lifted. So that's what he's going to try right here, thinking about removing his helmet. And as he thinks about it, we see the helmet come down. And so we know that this suit, it responds to his thoughts. But with that out of the way, he tells Marshall that how he acted today, it wasn't right. He could have got them both arrested. None of that would have happened if he had simply kept his mouth shut, respected the law, and did what was necessary, considering that he was completely wasted, that he wasn't sitting here asking for any of Marshall's help. And he really does kind of bite his head off. And they take a moment, they pause, but Nathan continues on and letting him know that this is the first time he's ever felt like he has a real purpose. Because coming home, it felt like he had a real chance when he moved out to LA. And having his failure, it feels like that chance was just wasted. And so he's finally getting another opportunity to do something. He doesn't know what he's going to do, but he feels like this has got to be something great. This has got to be something important. And the last thing he wants to do is screw this up like he has screwed everything else. And while they have this conversation, meanwhile in Chicago, there is an active bank robbery. With this bank robbery, we see a giant red explosion. And walking away from all of the smoke, all of the debris, it appears to be someone that is just like Nathan. that had found a suit, this one happening to be red. And so we can only assume that this will be the first villain that Nathan faces. Alright gang, so as we dive into issue number 2 of Radiant Black, we are picking up with Nathan making his way back home to his parents' house. Going inside, he is met by his father. Now, after the day Nathan has had, he wants nothing more than just laying down and going to sleep, trying to catch some Z's and figure out what to do next with everything that is going on in his life. But with it being early in the AM, his father is awake and he offers to make him some oatmeal for them to sit down and really just have a heart-to-heart, have a conversation about what Nathan is going to do next. And since returning back home, Nathan really hasn't divulged all the information to his father, hasn't let him know the crippling amount of debt that he finds himself in. But his father is also not a dumb man. He knows that if your son comes back home, it's usually not because they found financial success, but because they've hit a hard spot. They found themselves between a rock and a hard place. But this is really the first chance that they've had an opportunity to talk one-on-one. And more than anything, Nathan's father, he wants to know that he's okay, but he also wants to know, what is your plan? And Nathan tries to let him know that something great did fall in my lap, but it doesn't necessarily pay. And what he's talking about is an alien artifact, this new superhero aspect that he might go about. Now, of course, this doesn't pay, so his father suggests that he goes back to doing driver, the delivery service, much like Uber, much like DoorDash, or whatever you want to go with. And of course, Nathan, he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do it because it's not really that much money, but at the end of the day, his father convinces him this is probably the best bet, at least till you get on your feet, at least till you figure out what you want to write. Because you want to be a writer, and though no one is currently paying you to be a writer, you need to go out there, you need to find a job, and you've already done driver before, so why don't you do it here? And he lets Nathan know that you are welcome in my home as long as you would like. But there are going to be rules, there are going to be stipulations that you have to live by. And so with Nathan heading off and going to bed, he wakes up the next morning, but he finds himself floating up in the air. This alien artifact somehow is activated while he was asleep. It was levitating him up in the air, absolutely freaking him out, with someone at the front door trying to wake him up, knocking on the door. He is panicking, trying to figure out how to turn this thing off. And as soon as he thinks it's gotta go away, this little alien artifact, it just disappears. Not really sure what's going on, not really sure how that happened. He brushes this off for the moment and goes to the front door to find 2 police officers waiting for him. His best friend also standing behind them because the police officers, they went to him first, trying to find out what happened last night. These are the 2 cops that stopped them after they had just found this alien artifact. Now, it wasn't hard for them to track them down. The simple fact they had gotten drunk at a bar just around the corner from where the whole incident taken place. We see Nathan's mother showing up, trying to figure out what is going on. The police officers, they end up covering for Nathan and saying that he was in fact a hero. He helped somebody get off the train tracks and save their life, and that they are here just to get some kind of official statement and they'll be on their way. And with his mother going inside, this is when they have the real conversation. The police officers asking, what the freak was that last night? What did you do? How did you do it? And are you working with the other one? Now, at this point, Nathan has no idea what the police officers are talking about. But what is going on in Chicago? There is another individual with the same exact suit except red. And this person has been robbing banks all over Chicago. Now, Nathan proclaiming he has nothing to do with this. He doesn't know the other one. He just found out about this last night. He has no idea how to even use this power. And with him being the only individual so far to be spotted with this power, the police officers let him know that he really could do a lot for his community. He could be helping people in a big drastic way. But Nathan lets them know that he is not working with anyone and he will consider trying to do more for his community now that he's found this power. But before anything else, he has to figure out how to use this power. He has no idea what it is, what it does. the police officer's letting him know that he needs to figure it out, and he needs to figure it out quick. And so him and his best friend, they sit down, they try to figure out what they're gonna do next. While Nathan is still trying to figure out how to use this object, recognizing that he can essentially will it into existence and out of existence. He can make it disappear simply by thinking it. But what they do know is that this guy in red, he appears to know how to use this power. He's been using it to rob banks all over the place. And so why not go ask him some questions? At the very least, you're gonna find out a little bit more about your powers, about your abilities, and maybe, just maybe, where this thing comes from. And so Nathan, he heads into the city. Heading into Chicago, he goes to do some driver and try to talk to people. Maybe someone has seen this guy in red. Maybe somebody knows where he might be. And so as he drives people around throughout the day, he just has conversations, talking to the people and trying to figure out, hey, maybe you know something, maybe you don't. That guy on the news robbing banks in red is pretty crazy. And for most of the day, this is not working out for him until he runs into one individual. And this man lets him know that before any of this robbery stuff started kicking off, he saw this red light flying through the sky, and it appeared that it was coming from a junkyard. And so with Nathan now having a little bit of information, having a trail to follow the clues, he brings out his alien artifact, and grabbing hold of it, we see him transformed into radiant black. And with his transformation, he goes to this junkyard. Going inside, he goes to investigate, and he sees the man in the red suit. Holding an engine block over his head, he goes to have a conversation with him. But the man in red, he doesn't want to talk in the slightest bit. Because as soon as Nathan brings up anything about the police, the guy in the red suit, he knocks him for a freaking loop. We see Radiant Black go flying off into the distance. And with him crash landing, it's not long before the man in red is right on top of him. Radiant Black not wanting to fight him, he goes to push him away, and we see that Radiant Black, he pushes him so hard, he goes flying through the building. But our red suited villain, he comes flying back in, and he starts laying down some haymakers on Radiant Black. With Radiant Black being just far too passive. He didn't come here for any kind of fight. And our man in red, he is more than willing to lay down the hate. And so with the man in red leaving him there beaten on the ground, Radiant Black quickly learns that the man took his car. Taking his car for a joyride, Nathan, he goes as fast as he can, flying beside the car, asking him, begging him to just pull over. That they got off on the wrong foot and they can figure out how to settle this without things getting out of hand, without things getting too crazy. But going over a bridge, the man in red, he takes the vehicle and he plunges it off the side. As it is about to fall into the river, Radiant Black is able to grab it with his powers. Levitating the car, he is trying with great effort to bring it back up, letting the man in red know that I had no intention of being your enemy, of fighting you, or us even crossing paths in the wrong way. But now things are gonna be different because you just threw my car over the edge and I didn't even provoke you in the slightest bit. With Radiant Black pushing him, and we see the man in red go flying, leaving 2 duffel bags behind. Radiant Black is able to get his car back onto land. And with it now back on land, he looks in these duffel bags and what he finds is nothing but cash. And finding this money, he thinks to himself just for a second, I could take this money. I could take this money and nobody would know that I have it. He could pay off all his debt. He could take care of everything that he wants. But as soon as that thought comes into his mind, that is as fast as it leaves. Because he can't do it. His conscience simply won't let him. And so taking the bags, he delivers them to the 2 police officers, dropping them off, letting them know that he is going to be doing some kind of good for his community. And picking up later that evening or early morning, we see him sit down with his father, them having a conversation about what he's been doing, what's been going on, and though he technically lies about it, we can see that this is a real turning of the page for Nathan, because not only is he figuring out his powers, Not only is he figuring out what he is going to do with these powers, but he also made $200 with Driver last night. Not even meaning to, not even having an inclination that he was making money, because he was investigating. He was going after the clues. And so it made him more efficient. It made him a better employee, while at the same time hunting down any evidence to this man in red. And what we are seeing is a new beginning for Nathan.
It's this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we pick up with issue number 3, we are picking up with Nathan waking up, and today is writing day. Today is the day he plans to sit down and actually get some work done. Sitting down, beginning to type and get to work on his computer. We see that he is very much struggling to figure out what he wants his character to do, in what direction he wants them to go, and how to properly build them. The simplest term is writer's block, and you compile this with his mother coming into the room and asking him 1,001 questions. So with this distraction on top of his already struggling writing, he decides to go to his room to try to get a little bit of solitude and maybe, hopefully, be able to write something. But like any writer, any artist or creator, he procrastinates. He watches videos with cats, he does all kinds of things that he shouldn't be doing, but he sets a timer. As that timer goes off, he gets back to writing. But even then, he really can't figure out what he is going to do, and he really is beginning to feel down on himself, because he's been trying to write this for years now. Having all of this doubt build up, he's wondering why he even tried to begin with, because it's been years. What makes him think today would be any different? As he continues writing, this is where he gets some strange alien-like form of words. They keep beaming into his head. This alien language, he doesn't understand it, but is only more of a distraction. And so as Nathan continues to struggle on, he goes to see his buddy. And what Nathan finds his friend doing is trying to come up with some kind of cool superhero name. Now for Nathan, he's not even sure if he wants to be a superhero. But at this point, it seems like it is almost inevitable. He has the suit, he has the powers, and he returned that money from the bank robbery. And so as the two of them continue their conversation on, they begin to come up with some kind of name for him. The name they choose is Radiant Black. And while Nathan isn't really 100% sure if this is really the direction he wants to go, his friend has already created a social media account, making the first post saying that he was responsible for returning the money from that bank robbery. At this point, Nathan is absolutely furious. Ready to take off, he slams the phone down and he walks out of here. Heading to the local pub, he sits down and he has a couple beers. He tries to figure out what the heck he is going to write about, as he sits here and just cannot figure it out. On the news, they are saying, who is Radiant Black? Who is this mysterious super individual that is now in our city? And sitting here for a little bit of time, this is where Nathan, he begins to know what he is going to write. Getting the first sentence at the bar, he heads home. He sits down and he begins typing away. But in this typing, what we are seeing is an alien language. And in the silence, we hear a whistle. With that whistle comes a giant explosion, and we see a Radiant Black standing before him, with it grabbing hold of Nathan and flying off up into the sky. With Nathan trying to figure out who this is, the person unmasks himself and says that he is who Nathan will never be, dropping him from 30,000 feet. This is where Nathan, he springs awake inside of his bed. Not sure what is going on, not sure even what time it is. He gets a notification on his phone. This notification is a message to Radiant Black, because right now somebody's family is on the side of the road trying to change their tire in the middle of all of this snow. Still procrastinating on writing, he decides to suit up and go help out. And as he comes in, none of them expected him to show up. Most of them thought he was a joke, but with the father having a broken arm, right now this is going to be a tremendous help to this family. The only issue is, Radiant Black, Nathan, doesn't know how to change a tire. And as he attempts to do so, he breaks his four-way. And though Radiant Black may not be good at changing tires, he has this very unique ability, being able to pick up the car and take it to wherever they need to go. But by the time Nathan finds his way back home and into his bed, at this point it is well into the night. It is 2 a.m. and he is exhausted. As he begins to close his eyes, this is when inspiration hits. Jolting him awake, he pulls out his computer and he begins to write. And he writes well into the morning, his father waking up asking if he would like some breakfast. And alright gang, so as we dive into issue number 4, we pick up with Nathan in this dream where he finds a giant robot. As it begins to talk in this alien language, he has no idea what it is saying. But the more time that he spends inside of this dream, the more that he is starting to recognize all of the words that are coming out of its mouth. And what it tells him is welcome to existence. On the other side of town, we have his best friend Marshall getting a text message from Nathan. Nathan is finally ready to start learning his abilities, to start understanding the powers that he has. Going into the backwoods, this is where they start seeing what he can truly do. Now, they figured out the whole flying aspect of all of this, but Marshall is under the belief that there's a possibility that Nathan can shoot energy blasts from his fist. As he begins to try, he is able to shoot it out just a little bit, but there's not much behind it. Marshall believing that maybe, just maybe, if I get under his skin, I can get to his emotions, and then we can see him unlock his true potential. Really starting to mess with him to get under his skin. We see Nathan get very angry, and in this anger, he shoots an energy blast so strong, it could take out a freaking car. Believing that this is enough training, at least for one day, that both of them, they head home. Nathan goes to sleep and finds himself in this dream world yet again. But this time, it is starting to talk to him and he is understanding it even more. And what this robot is saying is that their syncing is in progress. And that their connection, it is permanent. Until the day he dies, the two of them will always be connected. But also gives a warning that war is coming. That he is coming. That he will kill you. He will kill your entire planet. Do you have what it takes to kill him first? Taking us to the next day, Nathan and Marshall, they're just walking along having some conversations, with Nathan letting him know that he's got all of this stuff going on. About this giant robot, he's starting to understand the language just a little bit more. Still not having all of the answers that he is searching for. Mid-conversation, this is where we see Radiant Red grabbing hold of Nathan and throwing him through some buildings. We see his suit manifest, and the battle is on. As Radiant Black knocks him for a freaking loop, we see Red bounce off of multiple buildings. The two of them sharing blows, going through buildings, energy blasts being sent in all directions. Radiant Red is threatening everybody that is close to him, everyone that he loves, everyone that he cares about. Being fed up with all of this, we see Radiant Black blast the heck out of Radiant Red. So much so that the mask breaks on Red. In the middle of all of this fighting, we see the building begin to crumble. Radiant Black using his abilities, he is able to hold up this building using some kind of light constructs, knowing that this place is going to be tumbling down. Using his energy blast, he blasts all of the civilians out of the building before it collapses down on top of him. Marshall running over to his side, Nathan no longer having his suit on and not having a pulse. And from his chest, we see the little black hole. It rises up for Marshall to grab hold of. Grabbing hold of it, the robot speaks to him, tells him the same thing it told Nathan. and in his anger, he is ready to take out anybody that stands in his way. Alright gang, so we are picking up in Lockport, Illinois. And right now, Marshall is freaking out. The paramedics, they are working on Nathan. They are giving him CPR, trying to get any kind of pulse in him. And while it looks like all hope may actually be lost, the paramedics are able to get him breathing. Having a very small pulse, they need to get him to the hospital as soon as possible. With Nathan being loaded up and taken there now, we see Marshall, he begins to freak out a little bit. All of this is very sudden. His friend is almost dead, and now he has the power that his friend once wielded. As he freaks out, he runs down an alleyway. We see the transformation, and Radiant Black is back in the sky. Flying away from this situation, he crash lands in a farm, trying to talk to whoever gave him this power. Whatever robot that Nathan had been talking about. This is something that he didn't want. It is something that he still doesn't want. Coming to the realization that this is not a matter of want. It is chosen with him, and it is now sinking with him, making his way back to the hospital. This is where he meets up with Nathan's parents. While Nathan is still technically breathing, he is hooked up to all kinds of tubes, and they are trying with great effort to keep him alive. While everyone sits here grieves and concerned, this is when the robot begins to talk to Marshall, letting him know that that sync is in progress, and that Marshall and it syncing together is going much faster than it did with Nathan, telling him existence, all that you are connected to time, space, and matter itself. But right now, there is a war that is coming to your doorstep. He will come for Radiant first, and then he will come for the entire planet. Now, Marshall, he doesn't really care so much about the cosmic aspect of why this little black hole came to them, and whatever being or individual sentient creature might be communicating with them. He doesn't care about any of it. What he cares about is getting revenge for Nathan. And this is where Marshall takes off, picking up with Radiant Red. Right now, Radiant Red is beating himself up. He didn't go there to try to kill Radiant Black, was just trying to tell him that he needed to stay in his own lane. But things got so severely out of hand. As Radiant Red is sitting here just punching this ice, we have the arrival of Marshall. At first, Radiant Red believes that this is Nathan, letting Radiant Red know that that was my friend, he is in a coma, and now you are going to pay for it. As the two Radiants clash together, there is a giant explosion of blue and red. Marshall syncing up much quicker than Nathan ever had. That means Marshall has a better hold on these abilities. He understands the connection better, and this makes him fight and have much more power. Not only that, Marshall had observed Radiant Red, watching as Radiant Red had absorbed things in that restaurant. That's how Radiant Red was able to get that armor, being able to transmutate matter. This brings Marshall to the conclusion that if you keep Radiant Red in the air, gravity being Radiant Black's specialty, then there will be nothing for them to grab hold onto. There is no matter around them to transmutate. As a giant burst of energy comes out of Radiant Black, we see Radiant Red shot down through the ice, waiting for Radiant Red to surface up. Radiant Black stands there, and we see his cape forming. Now, if you remember, Marshall was talking about how awesome it would be to have a cape, and that's exactly what his suit gives him. Admiring this cape, this is where we see Radiant Red surface, coming out, being able to change some of this matter around, looking like the freaking Hulkbuster coming out of this water. This is where the tide of this battle turns. Radiant Red just smashing in the face of Radiant Black. In his anger, we see a giant blast of energy, destroying all of her armor and exposing her face. Because I've been saying he, but this is in fact a girl. Radiant Red is female, and this even brings Radiant Black to a pause, stopping him from going any further. This is where we see two individuals teleported in, and that comes in the form of Radiant Pink and Radiant Yellow, letting them know that they're not individuals that usually come uninvited, but right now there is a huge threat. Whatever they are doing, they need to put it to the side, because whatever this thing is, it has come to kill all of the Radiants. And while Radiant Yellow used the entirety of his power to try to defeat this foe, he was unable to do so. And in an instant, we see Pink and Yellow. They are thrown over to the side. An individual that looks to be invisible starts to appear from the feet up, and it is letting them know that there are two options they can go with today. They can be the ones to die right here, right now. They can give up the radiant power, something that has never belonged to them to begin with. That they can die right now, or the entire species will suffer, gang. So as we dive into the origin story of Radiant Red, we pick up with a woman by the name of Satomi and her boyfriend Owen. They are all currently sitting down with friends and family, having a huge meal appearing to be Thanksgiving dinner. By all appearances, they are normal, everyday, regular people. They're getting ready to get married. Owen has a very successful business, bringing on new contractors, being able to pay for their entire lifestyle. And as time passes along, she really starts to feel the weight of everything on her shoulders. From planning the wedding to all of her stuff going on with teaching, trying to get into grad school, so on and so forth. Life is piling up on top of them. As the two of them make their way home, they have an individual in their driveway by the name of Lloyd. Now, Lloyd is from the bank, and he has come because Owen has actively avoided them, wanting to get their money back. This is the only way that they could do so. Unfortunately, Satomi had no idea that they were in any kind of debt. This is when she knows that Owen is back at it. Because while this looks like the picture perfect life, the truth of the matter is, Owen has a very bad gambling addiction. This addiction is putting them deeper and deeper into a hole. And he has been lying about this for many months at this point. And what he did is put a lien on their own home, which means right now they are in jeopardy of being evicted, of having it foreclosed on. And so she offers up her grad school money, an opportunity to clear out the debt and put this all behind them. Owen saying that there is no way they're going to do that. That is her grad school money, and they are going to keep it in the bank account. That he will find some other kind of way. He will find the money somewhere else. Satomi pushing through all of this. We pick up later that evening, unable to let it go, wanting to know how much debt they are actually in. She went to one of his job sites and started looking over all of the books. And after looking at all the numbers, she realizes how truly screwed all of it is. Sitting out here at this construction site trying to figure out what the heck she's going to do next. This is when the black hole came for her. The same orb that we had seen previously with Radiant Black appearing directly in front of her. Satomi grabs hold of it as she becomes one with the black hole. As she is transformed into Radiant Red, she goes flying off of this cliffside. Landing on her feet, she learns that she is able to absorb matter. At first, she's a little bit terrified, not sure what to think of this situation, not sure what the heck just happened. But it doesn't take her long to realize that this is gonna be a lot of freaking fun. Picking up the next day, she finds her way to the bank, trying to secure some kind of financing, any kind of loan, trying to find a way to get out of this hole that Owen has put them in. The man at the bank is really letting her know, because of her husband's history and everything that he has done, that he is a very risky investment to give more money to. Now Satomi, she firmly believes that her name, her credit, her numbers, that they are all on the up and up. So while her husband may not necessarily be able to get a loan, she believes that she should. Also saying that she has the money to back it up. The savings that she has for grad school, the money that she has saved up over all this time, she thinks that it proves more than enough that she is responsible with money and can be given a loan. But what she did not know is that Owen had already drained that bank account. He took every single penny, which takes us to later that evening. She confronts him and an argument ensues. He tries making this whole thing about how she was never gonna go to grad school, how the money just sat there and she was never gonna do anything with it. He tries making this about her and how it's possibly her fault. As she storms out and goes to leave, he pleads with her not to go, admitting all of his guilt and all of his faults, really making her feel guilty, making her want to stay here to help him out after everything that he has done, after all of his betrayal. And Satomi, she embraces him and she doesn't give up. This is what led Radiant Red to becoming a bank robber, putting on that suit, absorbing a bunch of matter, steel matter, to make her almost invulnerable, walking into that bank and headed home, kicking open the front door, carrying 2 duffel bags full of money, letting Owen know that she handled it. Alright gang, so as we pick up with this issue, our mystery warrior showing up, and without skipping a beat, this battle breaks out as all of the Radiants get thrown backwards, having some kind of camouflage, some kind of really advanced technology, coming in with his swords. One by one, he is taking down the Radiants. Though he is not killing them, he is just immobilizing them. These guys are not working as a team, each of them trying to come in and fight him. Just in the nick of time, this is when Radiant Pink teleports them, landing in Tokyo. And while Radiant Black tries to figure out why she didn't do that sooner, we learn that her teleportation, it has limitations. She needs a little bit of rest in between jumps, because doing these jumps, they drain her severely. And so while they have a moment to breathe, they talk amongst themselves, trying to figure out why everyone's here, what that guy was that was chasing them down. But Radiant Black, he also wants a little bit of information from Radiant Red, knowing that this mystery warrior is going to show up. Radiant Black, he picks all of them up and they begin to fly, using his powers so that they can more or less be able to gravitate wherever they want. They go to a very isolated place outside of Tokyo, and this is where they try to figure out who this guy is, showing up just a couple days ago. No introduction, no name, no pretense, just business. At this point, this is really all they know, trying to get a little more information on Radiant Pink and Yellow. They right now are really unwilling to tell Radiant Black anything. They don't know him, they don't really want to know him. The only thing they have in common right now is one enemy, trying to figure out what Radiant Red's deal is. She tries to tell him that she had no intention of hurting his friend, that it's not as simple as you just trying to send a message, because you came hunting after him, and now he is lying on life support. But before this conversation can go any further, we have the mystery man showing up, and the first one he goes after is Radiant Black. The rest of them unable to fly, which means they go falling out of the sky. Radiant Black barely having consciousness. Radiant Pink grabs hold of them, and the two of them, they go through 3 teleports, the last one landing them somewhere in space. As they try to get their grip on them, try to look around and see where they are, they find themselves in the midst of some kind of giant space battle. Giant battle cruisers, giant robots, lasers being shot in every direction, having no idea what is going on. These giant robots, they spot them, and then they go in for the attack, with Radiant Black using his ability to kind of amp up Radiant Pink. This helps them teleport out of here, and this is when they land in Russia. Now, picking up with Radiant Red and Radiant Yellow. The two of them are making their way through these woods, not really sure where the others had landed. The truth is, they could be anywhere with Radiant Pink's teleportation, but their biggest concern is the mystery warrior. In the midst of this fight, somehow, he had been taken down, and as they walk through these woods, this is where they run into his body, lying on the ground, his mask broken, but he is still breathing, and now it is time that he answers some questions. Alright guys, so as we dive into this issue, we are getting a small glimpse into the past, as we have the Phantom Radiant out here in the middle of space. It appears that there has been some kind of attack, some kind of destruction, with ship pieces flying all over in the nothingness. The Phantom Radiant is able to get to a ship that is operational, getting inside, turning everything on. We see this ship taking off,
while behind him, there is some kind of cargo ship that is trailing right behind his. Not knowing where he came from, not knowing the purpose to any of this. That is what jumps us to Moscow, Russia. Current day with Radiant Pink and Radiant Black. The intended drop was to be back in Japan. Unfortunately, Radiant Pink's powers, they're just not there yet. She has no idea how to truly control them, but at this point, she's a little bit wheezy. It appears she has tons of anxiety. She's just going through a lot right now, especially after just being in space and having space robots begin to come at them and look like they want to kill them. The both of them powering down their suits. They just need a minute to be normal. A minute to not be glowing, to really absorb everything that has been going on over the last day as they go try to find a place to relax. That is what takes us to Japan. Radiant Yellow and Radiant Red, who have trapped the Phantom Radiant with all of his lights currently out. The two of them begin to do a little bit of an interrogation. Now, he lets us know that if these Radiants were smart, they would immolate. They would do this as atonement for their stupidity, for sinking with things that they don't understand, that they have marked their world, their entire species to die, that soon none of this will matter, soon they will all be dead. This is when he thanks them for the charge. He goes invisible, and the fight is about to begin again as we hop back over to Russia, with Marshall stealing 2 cups of coffee and a blanket. Really, this is just his attempt of trying to be a nice guy, trying to help her out here. Now, while they may not have met on the best of terms, while they may believe that Marshall is just a douchebag, the truth is he wants to be a nice guy. After his friend just ended up in the hospital with everything going on, it's very understandable why he is coming off the way he is. But as they go on, they have a discussion about how all of this, it's just a lot. Black holes, superpowers, space robots, all of this is just insane. That is when a Russian couple walks up to them because he stole their coffee and everything. Recognizing they probably need to get out of this situation, their suits power on and they get ready to head for Japan. As we pick up with Radiant Yellow and Red, they are currently getting their butts kicked, with our Phantom Radiant placing something on Yellow's back. This causes him to almost short circuit, and then he makes his play on Red, driving his sword right through her chest. As she falls to the ground, she tries to use her surroundings to absorb, to repair, to stop all of the loss of fluid. And while the Phantom Radiant says that this is very admirable, it's very clever to do, but it is far too advanced for her to understand. Driving his sword yet again into her, thinking maybe she just needs to absorb something a little stronger. Grasping that sword, she absorbs it into her, and she becomes a titan. She becomes a Goliath, ripping the device off of Radiant Yellow. They get ready to truly fight, but that is when our Phantom Radiant, he implodes everything. A giant explosion going in all directions, a giant crater left behind. That is when Radiant Pink and Radiant Black teleport in, asking what happened. Radiant Yellow has observed that the Phantom Radiant, he charges from them. All of his technology is charged up in the presence of the other Radiants, that they are powering him. That is when from the smoke we have the Phantom Radiant, that they are tempting fate, that they dance among world enders in the shadow of an Armageddon, that they have become the doom to their planet, that there is no more running until this has been fixed. Finally, introducing himself, he says that he is 001, that he has been marked for death, and now he is in service to the new way. This is when, out of nowhere, we see a giant robotic arm come from the chest of Radiant Black. It reaches out and it grabs hold of 001. Grabbing hold of him, we see this arm retract back into the chest of Radiant Black. And just like that, 001 is gone. Radiant Black, nobody else truly understanding what the heck heck just happened, trying to get in contact with whatever that was. He says that it is only one-way communication, with Radiant Yellow saying that just maybe the immediate threat is over, that we take this time, we go home, we regroup, we try to figure out what to do next. We try to figure out how we can get some answers about who all of these people are, what this has to do with us, and where did 001 go. That is when Radiant Black turns on Radiant Red, still blaming her for what happened to his friend. That is when Radiant Yellow, he interjects, hitting Radiant Black with some energy, letting him know that we all have baggage, we all have things we wish we could take back, but right now is not the time to fight amongst one another. That now we must consolidate our power. We must try to understand what is happening, and if their world is gonna die, that he refuses to be the reason for it. And so, coming to an agreement, at least for now, they all teleport out of here, picking us up in a random field in the middle of nowhere. We have that cargo ship that had been following behind 001, and we have some individuals who appear to be trying to break into it. As they are able to get this door open, what they find inside is an entire armory of weaponry. All of it looks very relative to 001. This just changed the game. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up 2 days since the events with 001. And Marshall is going about his day-to-day. He's waking up, he's taking a shower, he's smoking a joint or cigarette, can't really tell which it is, having a bowl of cereal, having the neighbor kids, really make fun of him as he makes fun of them back. This is his routine. This is what he does day in and day out. When he is not Radiant Black, this is his mundane life. Heading into work, he overhears some individuals on a podcast talking about Radiant Black. A group of individuals that go by the name of Circle Guy News. News that is mostly focused around Radiant Black. About what he is, about what he does, what he wants, and where he comes from. Most of this is all speculation. But one thing is for sure, ever since the events in Japan with the giant explosion, things have changed forever. That is what takes us to Gold Cross Hospital. This is where Nathan is being kept, where he is being cared for while he is in his coma. And Marshall comes here every single day. He talks to him, lets him know what is going on in the world, what is going on in his life, what is going on at work, so on and so forth. Just hoping that maybe one day he'll wake up. Maybe some of this is getting through to him. Then we jump over to day 4. The same routine. Waking up, taking a shower, having a smoke, making fun of the neighborhood kids as they make fun of him. Going to work, going to see Nathan. This is Marshall's life. This is his day-to-day. But even with his friend in the hospital, he is still Radiant Black. That is what jumps us over to day 8. He goes to talk to the cops that know about Radiant Black. Tries to say maybe they can work together. That maybe he can get some help with his PR problems, while also helping them get promoted. The only issue is these cops, they have no interest in Marshall. In fact, they let him know that when Nathan wakes up, go ahead, let us know when that happens. And so Marshall goes out and he tries to do his own thing. Day 16, he is trying to let everyone know that he is sorry for the things that he has done wrong, but also tries to remind them that he did save the entire planet with putting up this banner over the highway when it is snowing, when the traction on the vehicles is very bad. This causes a 10-car pileup because people on the road get distracted by this giant banner created by Radiant Black. This only gives those podcasters more ammunition to say that Radiant Black is a bad guy. Picking us up with day 32, this is when Satomi walks through the door. Satomi being Radiant Red. It has been 1 month since they last seen each other, but really, we can see that the guilt has been building up on her. Everything that she did with Nathan being in the hospital, being in a coma, she came to talk to Marshall, to try and have a conversation, but truth is, Marshall doesn't want to talk to her. In fact, he said that things were fine for now, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have intentions of doing her harm. And while she did come here to say sorry, Marshall lets her know that if you want to say sorry, you need to go tell it to Nathan. And so Marshall takes her over to the hospital, takes her to see Nathan while he is in his coma. That is what takes us to day 65. We have a villain by the name of Doppler, having some very advanced technology. That is what takes us to day 65. A villain by the name of Doppler, having some very powerful technology. Not really sure where he got this tech. This is when Radiant Black comes into play, knocking this guy for a freaking loop, telling the news that if there are any villains, any criminals, he is going to take care of them. But not even a day later, that is where we see Doppler yet again stealing some more stuff. And so the days pass by. Day 90, day 100, day 120. The villains are popping up more frequently, having some very unique technology. Radiant Black going out there and taking these guys down, while also still doing his day-to-day on day 160. This is when he arrives at Gold Cross Hospital. Arriving here, this is where he runs into one of Nathan's exes, a woman by the name of JJ. The two of them, they go sit down, they have some lunch, and they catch up. And in the midst of this conversation, this is where the idea hits Marshall, a kind of fan club, if you will, because Nathan has been having an image problem. Radiant Black has not been seen as the hero. In fact, many question if he might be a villain in disguise. And so while the two of them, they finish up their conversation, that is what takes us to day 175, with Radiant Black meeting up with the podcasters, using this as an opportunity for good publicity. And in return, these guys will get access. Obviously though, they want more than that. They want something out of this. And so they come to a compromise. Radiant Black will give them a percentage of what he makes. If them working together becomes profitable, these guys will also make money. And so they agree to it. They join forces, and this will help with Radiant Black getting some more popularity and good positivity. That is what takes us to day 224. Marshall sitting down writing in the book. This book belonging to Nathan. What he is doing is trying to finish Nathan's story as he sits and writes this story. And that is when Nathan shows up, appearing to be nothing more than a ghost. Marshall knows that he is dreaming. And though he wishes this was not a dream, he gets to talk to his friend at least just for a moment. The day's moving on. They're saying that it is time. Day 240. Marshall isn't doing his daily routine. Instead, we find him inside of his store in a drunken stupor, because after getting the news that it is time, he doesn't want to accept it. He doesn't want to take this as fact. With Nathan showing up again, the two of them having a little conversation. As they go for a walk, they talk like old friends, and eventually this walk leads him to Gold Cross. All of Nathan's friends and family is here because the time has come to take him off of life support. As they get ready to do so, this is when he thinks about it. This is when he realizes, checking something on his phone, he screams at the doctor to wait, saying that he can save Nathan's life. Obviously, Nathan's parents, they are very hurt. This is a very hard time for them. They just want Marshall to let him go, because this is hard for everybody, and the more that Marshall tries to hold on to Nathan, the harder this is for everybody around them. With Marshall running out of the room, going and screaming into the air, Marshall knows that Nathan is alive, screaming at the existence, at whatever gave him his power, whatever is inside the suit of Radiant Black. Because back when he had that dream, the one where he was finishing the book for Nathan, the story that he was writing, Nathan had already wrote down. He wrote it back in December, while Marshall had never read it. He wonders how the heck did he dream it word for word if he had never simply read it. He knows that whatever the power is inside of Radiant Black can hear him. If there is a chance to save Nathan's life, he wants to do it right now. But the existence does not show itself, And so he goes to more drastic measures, going to those train tracks where he first found out about the little black hole that popped up here, where Radiant Black first came to be when it first bonded with Nathan. That whoever that is on the other side doesn't want to talk to him, he is going to make them talk to him. He knows that they need Marshall, because if somebody else finds the Radiant Black, they may not be as good-hearted. They may use it for evil, with Marshall demanding answers. He knows that Nathan is in there with him, with whoever these higher beings are, wherever this technology came from. We saw 001 sucked into the chest of Radiant Black. It is not inconceivable to believe that maybe Nathan's consciousness is stuck in there with them. And while the voice lets Marshall know that it is possible to save Nathan's life, but he will not succeed at doing so, going on to say that there is only truth in existence. To attempt this will come at a great cost, asking if he is prepared to lose everything. Alright gang, so as we jump into this issue, we are picking up with Marshall being dropped into existence, as he finds himself falling through many layers, landing on the other side fully suited up as Radiant Black, making his way through this very odd and peculiar place. That is when the robot comes to him, greeting him and welcoming him to existence. Now, of course, Marshall has no idea what is actually going on. Not sure if they're in some kind of black hole or something else. The robot doesn't really give him much of an explanation, simply saying that we are everywhere, but also telling him to reach Nathan, he must reach the truth. There is only truth in existence. As the two of them traverse this dimension, wherever this may be, with the robot reminding him that if he does attempt this, it will come at a great cost, asking him if he will reconsider, because he will die in doing this. But for Marshall, there is no chance of turning back. Nathan is his best friend. He is going to do anything to save him, no matter what the cost. That is what brings him to a helix, looking like a very tiny black hole. This is the path to truth. This is the path to Nathan, the robot unable to follow beyond this space. And so, as Marshall reaches up to that helix, we see him transported. This is where he runs into 001. Immediately, Marshall goes on the offensive, trying to attack him, but 001 gets the jump. He gets the upper hand, having a knife to Marshall's throat. 001 lets us know that him and the robot, they made a deal. Once Marshall has gone through here, once he has failed and he has died, 001 plans on taking the Radiant, not for his own power, not to sync up with it, but to protect it. Reiterating what the robot had already said, he has no hope in existence, that he will die. This will lead to the demise of Marshall, that turning back now is his only chance. But if he does choose to move forward, 001 will be his guide. And so the two of them move, with Marshall unwilling to turn away. They find themselves in the Sunless Shores, a place that is sentient. It only cares about one thing, and that is truth. As they adventure through this land, that is where we see Nathan, or at least a form of Nathan. In reality, this form that it is taking on, this is in fact the place that he is at. 001 told him that this place was alive. This is the manifestation of this place, coming to him in the form of Nathan, hoping that they can deter him from going down this path. With a great rumbling, we see many forces coming at them. The two of them go running. That is where 001 opens up a portal, dropping them into some other kind of dimension. We learn that 001 can very much teleport them to different locations, but it takes up all of his charge. This is where we see another cosmic being. As they say that they are learning so much about Marshall, they ask why he is here. He reiterates the same thing he has said over and over and over again, that he is here to save his best friend. And while existence does believe that he is lying, It says that there is only truth in existence. This is where Marshall uses his abilities. He tries attacking this cosmic being, with 001 opening up a portal, bringing him to his last location. He finds himself alone, lost, and wandering. And on the wind, he can hear a faint whisper, continuously asking why he is here. What is his purpose? Being transported to a different location. This is when existence truly begins to question him, asking why he is here, what he is doing, and what truth he is so afraid of. Marshall going on to say again that he is here to save his friend. When it asks him why, he says because it is his best friend and he loves him. But existence knows that this is all a lie, that deep down, Marshall hates his friend. After enough poking and prodding from existence, we see Marshall explain this. He knows that Nathan deserves this power. His life had purpose. He was actually going out, chasing his dreams, and moving forward. Moving on from his hometown, from his friends, from his family, while Marshall believes himself to be nothing. As he screams that he hates Nathan, dropping to his knees, it is not Nathan that he hates. In fact, he loves him. Marshall hates himself. He hates himself for not living up to who Nathan is. He hates himself for not being as good as his friend. He hates himself for resenting his best friend. That is where Nathan appears to us. This is the real Nathan, his consciousness in existence. Nathan saying that he's not nothing. Nathan has known Marshall his entire life. He knows that he is enough. He knows that he is more than enough. That right now Marshall is on an adventure, and while they take different paths, that doesn't mean that Marshall is worse than him. Marshall proclaiming that he is just afraid. He is afraid of everything, that he can't live up to what this power is. Nathan giving him the confidence that he needs. The two of them embracing. He was more than willing to give up his life for Nathan to return. But that was never existence's plan. This was the first test, going on to say that something big is coming. Existence didn't know if Marshall was ready, if he was capable of stepping up. But now it is time. With a portal opening up, we see him grab hold of Nathan and they fly back to their reality. They fly through that portal and their adventure, it is only beginning. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Now, this one was definitely a fun issue. Marshall battling with those inner demons, with self-doubt, with lacking confidence. These are all elements of the human condition. No matter how strong, no matter how powerful, no matter how smart you are, every single human being, they deal with these emotions. They deal with the idea that they may not be good enough. That is where attributes like courage, like fortitude, things like hope come into play. Because while Marshall, he sits here in this self-doubt, he wallows in it. It almost eats him alive. But Nathan reminds him that he is more than capable. He has the ability to overcome all of this. Existence needed to make sure whatever is on the horizon, it is going to be big. They need somebody that is going to stand against any and every challenge, whether it be a psychological one or a physical one. They need a champion that is willing to walk through hell, that will hold his head up high, one that is willing to do whatever it costs. And now they are assured that Marshall is more than capable of filling this role. And so now, with the test being over, this is where the real adventure begins. So let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get completely caught up on everything going on with Radiant Black, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It is gonna get you completely caught up on the entirety of this series. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership, much like Patreon having 5 different tiers. from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to getting free comics every single month. Not only does this help out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you are unable to do that, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown. Alright gang, so we are picking up with Marshall returning home. In his living room, there is a giant jolt of electricity. The portal opens up and we have Marshall, who lands on his coffee table, breaking it in half, but now he is home. Now that he has returned, the first thing that he goes to do is find Nathan to see if he is still alive. As he goes running out his front door, what we see are tons and tons of boxes, to include newspapers as well. It appears that nobody has answered the door or been inside in quite some time. But as Marshall makes his way to Nathan's hospital room, he doesn't find him. Looking around, he goes to the physical therapy, and this is where he finds Nathan. He is alive, he has returned. As the two of them start to have a conversation, this is where Nathan is asking Marshall where has he been. Obviously, Marshall doesn't understand what he's talking about, saying that he was in existence, so on and so forth. But this is when Nathan lets him know that Marshall has been gone for 6 weeks. Nathan woke up 6 weeks ago. As the two of them head back to Nathan's room, Marshall is going over all the news articles that he has missed in the last 6 weeks. Now, the robot in existence did tell him that time had worked differently. We see that there is a little bit of tension here. Nathan is seeming just a little bit odd, and we could assume that Nathan is a little bit envious. This radiant black was originally his, but now Marshall is the one owning it. That is when Nathan's parents come into the room, and immediately they are very standoffish, just a little bit rude. It seems that everybody is a little upset with Marshall, because when Nathan was about to be pulled off of life support, Marshall had disappeared. He disappeared for 6 weeks and nobody could find him. This is when it clicks in Marshall's head that nobody knows where he is. This is where he rushes over to his job only to find that he has been fired. And you could say that it's rightly so. Marshall had disappeared for 6 weeks with no communication with anybody, and you can't really blame them for firing him. He disappeared for 6 weeks with not a single phone call. And while Marshall, he really does his best to try and explain this situation without giving any details away, we can see that it's not working. As Marshall takes off, this is where we see Radiant Pink teleporting in to have a conversation. With him just getting fired, this is the perfect time for her to arrive, because she is coming with a job offer. If you guys remember in past issues, they had faced against an individual by the name of Doppler. Much like the Radiance in the technology, she is able to manipulate sound in a very unique way. But Eva, aka Radiant Pink, she's letting it be known that she has really been on one. And Radiant Pink has been live streaming all of the things she does. It really seems like the Radiants are using things like essentially YouTube to branch out, not only to get subscribers to bring in money, but to also get their name out there. And so as the two of them get ready to go find Doppler, we pick up with her and we see that she is nothing more than a professor. Once upon a time, she used to play the cello, but it appears she has some kind of medical issue. That is why she has been going out as Doppler. She has been getting money to pay off thugs, to pay off bills, all of these things. It appears that that cargo that was found from 001, it has made its way through the black market. It is now in the underground, and we have all kinds of different people that have been able to get their hands on it. Taking us back over to Radiant Black and Pink. They are live streaming, GoPros, all that good stuff. They are making their way through the skies, discussing on what they should be doing and how they should be doing it. As they travel around looking for any sign of Doppler, they finally get a ping. This is where they see Doppler, a duffel bag full of money. Doppler panicking, screaming no. This is when Doppler shoots a giant blast of some kind of sound energy right from her arms. This blast hits a nearby building, and we see a bunch of people go falling from the sky, as Radiant Black and Pink are doing everything they can to catch all of them, to save them before anybody is hurt. Doppler is now gone, and they go through the belongings of Doppler trying to find any clue on where she might have gone. Doppler had gone back to the guys where she had got her charge from, because every time she runs out of juice, she has to come back to them, pay them for more juice to be able to keep the suit running. But Radiant Black and Pink, they were hot on her tail, and they have arrived here. As they show up, this is where we see Doppler really start to use her power. This is where the fight breaks out. But this fight, it is over relatively quickly. Radiant Black and Pink definitely having the upper hand, having the experience, knowing how to fight against somebody. It appears that Doppler, she really doesn't understand any of the fundamentals when it comes to fighting. She really seems more like a desperate person put into a desperate situation and given the power and ability to at least get the money that she needs. That is when the two gentlemen from the garage, the one that had been charging up Doppler, we see them get in a vehicle that seems to be intertwined with 001's technology. But with Doppler being taken down and those men making their getaway, we see that Doppler is crying underneath the suit. This is when Marshall says that this just doesn't feel right. Radiant Black giving Doppler the opportunity to leave, to stop breaking the law. He is letting her off with a warning, letting her also know that her so-called friends got this gear from 001, and that if it works the same way as his gear, then that means she gets charged off of the Radiants. Radiant Pink isn't really sure if this is the best of ideas, but Marshall says that this is the only thing that has felt right when so much has just been feeling off. It has been feeling weird. Ever since he was returned, things just aren't feeling as they should. For the first time since he has been back, this feels like the right thing to do. This is where he goes back to Nathan, passing JJ in the hallway. She is also not speaking to him. Again, he was gone for 6 weeks and didn't say a word, so everybody is very upset with him. But Nathan has been talking to all of them, really trying to smooth things over. While he's not able to do so with JJ or his parents just yet, he was able to get Marshall's job back, calling saying that he had a disease he was too embarrassed to talk about. But Nathan tells him that this is your time. They are his powers now, and Nathan is genuinely excited for his friend, even if it is just a little bit weird. But he lets Marshall know that they are good, that there is no hard feelings whatsoever, telling Marshall that he would like to get some sleep. Marshall leaves behind a little bit of music for him. Music that Doppler had made, as Nathan rests his eyes and he plays this music, as it soothes his mind and it goes into him. This is where we see the robot, somehow using these sound waves to communicate with Nathan. We are seeing that existence, it is not done with him yet. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Another story where we are roughly 11 issues in and we are just truly beginning our story. But it doesn't feel that way. There has been a lot that is going on. We have seen space battles. We have been to existence. We have fought against 001. We have seen that there are multiple other Radiants, that 001's technology is spreading across the globe. We all know that there is something big coming. When Marshall and Nathan were in existence, they were talking about this. They were discussing how Marshall needed to be ready for what is yet to come. And while we don't fully understand what this is, we can only assume that there is some kind of galactic war on the horizon where the Radiants are going to be instrumental in whatever is happening. It really looks like our heroes are being dragged into some kind of space war, that the human race itself is being selected to be warriors. Not every single one of them, obviously, but whatever is on the horizon is going to be huge. Now, this issue really did make you feel for Marshall, because he didn't choose to be gone for 6 weeks, but everybody around him, they are acting like this was all his choice. That when Nathan was on his deathbed, about ready to have his life support pulled, that Marshall just disappeared. I do think that everybody's being a little bit hard on him, especially considering Marshall was the only voice to say don't pull the plug, to don't take him off life support, because there is a possibility he could come back. But now everybody is kind of sticking up their nose. They're upset with him, and I don't feel like it's necessarily justified. Now, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely phenomenal writing. It's great writing because you can feel how Marshall is feeling. You understand that everyone around him is upset, and they don't really have the justification to be upset. Because at the end of the day, Marshall was the only voice of reason. He was the only person trying to ensure that Nathan would be saved, even when his own parents wanted to pull the plug on him. But whatever tension was there between Nathan and Marshall because of the switching of power, if you will, it looks like that is about to be alleviated because existence is not done with Nathan. It is possible that he could yet become another Radiant, or maybe another 001. But let me know your thoughts, let me know your theories. If you would like to get completely caught up on everything going on with this series, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on with Radiant Black. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. Much like Patreon, having 5 different tiers, from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to getting free comics every single month. Not only does this help out the channel tremendously, but you are getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you are unable to do any of that, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.